Hey, welcome back to the stash.
Inside.
For clothes that Tristan lost.
Marvel superheroes featuring Captain Marvel. This is the one you've been waiting for. An all-new sense-shattering superheroes only Mighty Marvel could present him.
Let's start there, like a good old 60s comic book ad. Bold, dramatic, a little cheesy, but also kind of perfect. Because growing up, I loved comics. My world was, and still is, comics. There was no better feeling in my childhood than discovering new and exciting heroes, one that, at the time, I had no idea would stick with me for the rest of my life. From Spider-Man to Batman to the X-Men and so many more. My world was filled with color, with spectacle, with heroes I adored, and the man I have to thank for that is my dad. He and I would travel to one certain comic store all the time growing up, one that became my secret happy place. There I was able to collect so many comics that I would read over and over again. Hell, I still have most of them to this day. But the one thing I'd always keep an eye out for was the Silver Age classics. I was raised on them. The stories, the characters, the style, they'll always hold a special place in my heart. And naturally, because of my dad, I found myself loving the characters he loved too. And there was one in particular, one that he absolutely adored, and I quickly learned to adore too. And he was none other than Captain Marvel. But who is Captain Marvel? Not that Captain Marvel, not Carol Danvers, not Monica Rambeau, not the cinematic one who the MCU built up while ignoring the rich history the name holds. I'm talking about the original, the forgotten one. A Kree soldier, a cosmic protector, a man torn between duty and morality, a man who would go on to become something so much more. His name was Mar-Vell. He first appeared in Marvel Superheroes issue 12, all the way back in 1967, a time when Marvel Comics was in the midst of redefining what a superhero story could be. Created by Stan Lee and Gene Colan, Mar-Vell was part of Marvel's bold step into the unknown, an attempt to blend the larger-than-life superhero genre with the rising popularity of science fiction. Space, aliens, empires, cosmic drama, it was all bigger, stronger, and more ambitious than ever before. And right at the center of that experiment was a soldier. Mar-Vell, a member of the Kree, a race bred for war, conquest, and control. He was sent to Earth not as a hero, but as a spy. Because thanks to the Fantastic Four, mere humans as they were deemed, were able to defeat one of their intergalactic sentries as well as the great Ronan the Accuser. And so, to the Kree, Earth was nothing more than a potential threat, another planet to tame and eventually destroy. And with some sinister ill intentions behind the scenes, Mar-Vell was their eyes on the ground. To hide in plain sight, he assumed the identity of Dr. Walter Lawson, a scientist whose credentials he stole. It was then he was able to meet Carol Danvers and a lot of the soldiers around the base. It was a clever disguise, but also the first crack in his armor, because in pretending to be one of us, he started to become one of us. At first, he followed orders, but slowly, issue by issue, something changed. Now where he came from, emotion was weakness, compassion was foolish, mercy a defeat, but he and his love Una knew they were different. They felt more, they lived more than the others who inhabited their cold, calculating world. And though it went against everything they were taught, they couldn't ignore it. On Earth, amidst humanity's chaos and beauty, Mar-Vell began to feel something unfamiliar and undeniably powerful. Empathy. He saw people struggling to do good, even in the face of impossible odds. He saw bravery. Not born from genetic perfection or military might, but from love, from sacrifice, from choice. And that changed him. For Mar-Vell wasn't just torn between two worlds. He was being transformed by them. What began as a mission of conquest became a quiet rebellion, not just against the Kree, but against who he was expected to be. That internal struggle, that duality, became the soul of his story. He wasn't just a warrior. He wasn't just an alien. He was something far more, a man learning what it meant to be human, in all its messy, emotional, imperfect glory. And for those who followed his journey, that transformation made him one of the most quietly compelling heroes Marvel ever created. And as I reread these early issues, as I watched Mar-Vell wrestle with who he was and who he wanted to be, something clicked inside of me. Something I didn't fully grasp as a kid, but now, with time and perspective, I finally understood. Because, in a weird way, I saw myself in him, and I'm sure some of you can too. And no, I'm not a Kree soldier. I haven't been torn between empires or fought cosmic wars, but I do know what it's like to feel caught between two versions of yourself, between who the world expects you to be and who you actually are deep down. That pressure, whether it's from family, work, friends, or even your own standards, it builds. And like Captain Mar-Vell, you learn to wear the mask, to play the part, and you tell yourself, just stick to the plan. And for a while, maybe that works, but eventually, just like Mar-Vell, you start to feel things you were taught to push down. And in his case, it was empathy, doubt, and compassion. He started to ask questions, and he started to wonder, what if this isn't who I'm meant to be? That's what hit me when I revisited these comics. It wasn't the fights or the powers or the sci-fi spectacle that lingered, although it was incredible to behold. It was the quiet stuff, the hesitation, the choices, the little moments where Mar-Vell stops being a soldier and starts becoming something more. That's what made him human, and that's what made him matter to me. But even before I understood any of that, back when I was just a kid flipping through my dad's collection, I adored his comic covers. I mean, just look at them. They were bold, dramatic, sometimes downright strange, but every single one had this energy to it, like the cover was shouting, "This is it! This is the one where everything changes." And even if I didn't fully understand what was going on inside those pages, the covers had me hooked, from Captain Mar-Vell issue 1 to Captain Mar-Vell issue 10 to one of the coolest cosmic covers ever, Captain Mar-Vell issue 29, and of course, the Captain Mar-Vell issue 17. There's something about the way Mar-Vell was always posed, caught between cosmic chaos and stoic determination. They felt like windows into something epic, and I held onto those issues like they were treasure. But as I got older, and especially now rereading them for this video, I started to appreciate something beyond the covers, and that is the transformation that took place inside those pages. Because trust me, Mar-Vell didn't just change as a character, he completely evolved, and with that evolution came a change of his costume. Gone was the green and white Kree military uniform, the look of a commander, of a soldier, of someone tied to his heritage. And in its place, red, blue, and gold. A bold new design that looked like it belonged among the stars. It was more than just a costume upgrade, it almost felt symbolic. It was the moment Mar-Vell transcended his previous limitations and started following his own purpose. It was the moment he was truly unchained. That suit, it meant something. It screamed confidence, identity, and power. It was the visual proof that Mar-Vell had become something more and something special. A true protector of the universe. Protector of Earth and not a soldier sent to infiltrate it. And also, just look at it. He looks cool as hell. And as a kid, I loved both outfits, and I still do, but that red, blue, and gold one just is seriously one of my favorite cosmic designs ever in comics. But even as he found his place among the stars, his connection to Earth only grew deeper, because Mar-Vell did something seriously unexpected for the series. They paired him with Rick Jones, Hulk's old friend, and at the time, failed Avenger, and suddenly, he and Mar-Vell are bonded, literally through the awesome cosmic negabands. And with that, only one of them can exist in our dimension at a time. When one slams the bands together, they switch places, one in the negative zone, one in the real world. Issues 16 and 17 just completely changed the series for the better. It was incredible to see his transformation, and it also added a fresh new dynamic to the book. But it also makes Mar-Vell and the comic feel more real in a sense, because now Mar-Vell wasn't just protecting Earth, he was sharing a life with it. He was living through Rick's eyes, connected to a world he once thought of as primitive. And he learns moment by moment what it meant to truly belong. That bond made him stronger, wiser, and in the end, better. I'm sorry, I just have to say one more time, how cool are both of his suits? I swear, if there's one thing that's never changed through all my years, it's how much I adore Captain Mar-Vell's designs. But anyway, in the end, Captain Mar-Vell was never the flashiest hero. He wasn't the funniest, he wasn't the most relatable, he didn't have the catchiest villains or the most iconic moments in pop culture, but for me, he meant something real. There was a quiet strength to his story, a weight to his journey. He was flawed, conflicted, caught between two worlds just trying to find his place in one of them. And maybe that's why he stuck with me. Because as I've grown older, I've come to realize that we're all kind of like Mar-Vell. We all wear masks, we all wrestle with expectations, whether it's ours, others, and the world's. And if we're lucky, we all get that moment of clarity. That moment where we stop pretending and start becoming who we were meant to be. Mar-Vell's story reminded me of that, and rereading these issues brought me back not just to the character, but to those memories with my dad, flipping through our collection, sharing quiet excitement over our latest find, holding those comics like they were treasure, because to us, they were. But beyond all that, beyond the depth, the themes, the emotional layers, Captain Mar-Vell was just so cool. He had that cosmic presence, that no-nonsense attitude, that underrated confidence that said, I don't need the spotlight, I'll still shine. And the way he stood, posed like power was coursing through his veins, eyes glowing with cosmic awareness, the way he soared through space, traveling far and through its beauty. It wasn't loud, it wasn't trying too hard, it was just cool. He looked like he stepped out of a vintage sci-fi poster and straight into the heart of the Marvel Universe. He had that kind of design and energy that made you stop flipping through the long box and go, wait, who is he? And that's what makes him so special to me. He wasn't just a symbol, he wasn't just a legacy, he was simply Mar-Vell. And it's easy to forget characters like him. He doesn't have a billion-dollar movie franchise or constant reboots. But maybe that's what makes him special. He's not here to sell merch or to ride trends. He's here to remind us that even the most cosmic, far-off stories can still speak to the most human parts of us. So, yeah, maybe he's the most forgotten Captain Mar-Vell. But not to me. And if you've made it this far, maybe not to you either.